Good morning. Today we are on listening experience number 8, and this is the ballet Romeo and Juliet by Sergei Prokofiev. He was a Russian composer in the early 20th century and highly influential. He used, in the score for Romeo and Juliet, he used a non-standard instrument for orchestration. It was, at the time, a relatively new instrument. It hadn't been around that long. But it figures prominently throughout the score. You hear this kind of low, reedy sound. He couldn't get what he wanted from the bass clarinet, so he actually used a tenor saxophone in the score, and it's got a few little solos in there. It makes for a pretty interesting story. When Prokofiev wrote the music for the ballet, it's based on Shakespeare, so that's kind of tough because you have to tell the story but with no words. So what he did in his original version is he gave it a happy ending. That's not how the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet ends. We all know this. The two star-crossed lovers really didn't get the happy ending they were hoping for. He changed that back. So back to the original intention of the play. He wrote it in 1935, but it was not allowed to be seen in Soviet Russia until 5 years later, 1940. Probably had to go under revisions and approval by the state before it was allowed to be performed in public. It took another 30 years before it was first performed in the United States, and that was in 1969. And it was extremely well received by that time over here. It was kind of after the it was kind of the middle of the Cold War, sort of a fascination with all things Russian, because it was so forbidden, So along with Peter Tchaikovsky, Sergei Prokofiev is considered one of the greatest composers of ballet music in the world. The way that he's able to combine music with the dancing is truly impressive. He wrote this in the 1930s for the Kirov Ballet Company, which was in Soviet Russia, and that's where all the top state-sponsored artisans and dancers would be employed, because everybody was working for the good of the state. That being said, he was probably not the most successful Russian composer of that time period, like the first third of the 20th century. There were a lot of them, but the most successful, the one that probably made the most money and sold the most records, was Dmitri Shostakovich. His cello concerto and his symphonies are just outstanding. So Shostakovich is another neat one to look into. There was a policy around at the time in Russia that all artwork and musical work and public arts, murals, all that, they were required to conform with Soviet standards and include folk elements and project happy outlooks, because all the Soviets are happy and successful. This was under Stalin, but the guy that enacted it was Zhandov. So this is called the Zhandov Doctrine. You might come across this if you're studying World War II. 1930s, when films started to become very popular, and Prokofiev actually did write a film soundtrack for a film called Alexander Nevsky, who was a Russian hero, and so it was pretty much a propaganda piece, but it's really cool music anyway. He died in 1953, and he died 1 hour before Joseph Stalin died. And who do you think got the bigger funeral? Yeah, so his death was somewhat overshadowed by perhaps one of the most notorious figures in all of human history. That's up for debate, but Stalin was not what we would usually call a good guy. So what we're going to listen to today is part of this wonderful ballet music, and this is the Dance of the Knights. First time when Romeo and Juliet actually get to meet each other. Let's see if we get an ad. No, we don't. Good. So here we go. This is very dark and foreboding. So this is introducing the Montague family. Very regal. There's Romeo, his father. Very fun tuba bass trombone part. Okay, I'll let you go listen to the rest of this on your own. Just click on the little link up above and you can watch the whole scene. You'll hear the second melody that comes in introducing the Capulets. This is one of probably the top 5 pieces of my personal favorite opera music. So enjoy it.